Hello, everybody. All right, so let's just jump right in here. What we're going to try and do in this video is play this My Horse Farm horse game. It looks like that. And so this is an older game. It came out or this version of it anyway, was published in 2004. There was another version, Mein Pferdehof, that was published a little bit earlier. But this version is for an older version of Windows and is not going to work on Windows 7 or Windows 10. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this USB stick, and this is going to pretend to be Windows so that we can play the game. This particular stick is 2 gig in size. You can have one that's bigger. You can have one maybe that's a little bit smaller, but probably not by much, just for your use there. Okay, so how it's going to pretend to be Windows is we're going to install Linux on that little thing, and I'm going to walk you through that. So we're going to go through this Puppy Linux, and I'll have links for all this down below. But what the distribution we're going to use is this Puppy Linux Ubuntu Tar 32-bit Tahrpup 6.04, and there's a link to download it right here. So just right-click, save as, save it to wherever you want to save it, and then we'll get to that in a little bit. So the next thing is you'll need to put that Linux distribution on the stick itself, and so for that you'll need another program. I use this, and I have used this before, and I like it. It's a universal USB installer. So again, the links for this are down below, but basically the download button over here is the same as before. Save link as, and put it in the same place that you put that other file. And so that'll be the universal USB installer file. So once you have that stuff downloaded, we're going to open up the installer file. This is the installer file. Yep, I know I'm going to make some changes to that USB stick. I agree that this can blow things up. Now, you're going to get a lot of warnings throughout this whole process that if you're not careful, you can delete most of your stuff. So you just got to be aware and just read the warnings that come up. If you use the defaults on everything, you're going to be fine. And I'll point out some areas just where you need to be extra careful. But anyway, but you do need to read the warnings as they come up, so you know what's going on. Okay, so this installer, it comes by default with a lot of different options. Before we get into that, I'm going to take our USB stick and go ahead and plug it into a free USB slot over here. And that USB stick, make sure you have any files that you wanted backed up. We're just going to erase it and right over the top of it. With this program, you can install it alongside that stuff. It's just going to be a little easier and cleaner if we wipe it. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do. So we're going to skip all these pre-made menu options. We're going to go all the way down to the bottom here. Third one from the bottom is try unlisted Linux ISO. So it's the next step 2 is browse for your ISO. We put it in the same folder as the install. There it is right there. It's about 200 meg. So that's the one we're going to select. Turns green. And then step 3 is select the drive letter of your USB. Oh, and first error of the video. Okay, so it's not showing us any drive letters for the USB because I put the USB stick in after I opened up the program. So I'll cancel out of this. Let's just, we'll go and scan and fix, that's fine. Hey, great. Okay, so let's try this again. Our universal USB installer. Yep, agree. All the way down to the bottom. Third one from the bottom. Try that. Pick our ISO. There's the one that we just downloaded. Turns green. Okay. Now select our USB. So the only one there is going to be a USB stick. There's an option to show all drives. Just leave that unchecked. It's not something that we want to mess with because that'll open up your hard drive as an option, and we don't want to accidentally format our hard drive. So we've got our E drive. This is our thumbstick. Right now it's formatted as FAT32. I'll just go ahead and keep that. I don't think it really matters for us one way or the other. This option over here is wipe the entire disk. Wipe disk 1. This is disk 1. UUI 1 gig. And we're going to say create. It'll give us another warning. It'll say, hey, back up any data that you've got. Make sure this is the drive that you actually want to delete. It's a letter E. And we're going to label it this. We're going to install that. So make sure that this is the disk that you want to kill. Just one last double check. I'm looking at my file structure over here. E is the removable disk. So that's the one that I'm interested in. So that's good. So go ahead and hit yes. And this will just take a minute or two or three. But it's installing the Linux operating system on the USB stick. So we're going to let that do its thing. Successfully formatted the volume. Creating the label, and then copying over the files. Might fast forward this part. All right, process is complete. We'll close that. I'm going to leave the USB stick in here. Just leave it right in there, and I'm going to restart the computer. And if everything works out immediately, then it'll just boot right up into the Linux operating system. If it doesn't go into Linux, we're going to have to pay attention when it boots up, and we'll have to get into the BIOS. Okay, so now it's going back into Windows, which tells me it's not looking for a USB stick to boot up from. But that's okay, we can fix that. Okay, so we're back in Windows. Instead of logging in, we're going to just restart again. And this time we're going to pay close attention. There's usually a key to press to get into BIOS. On this particular laptop, this is a ThinkPad there's a blue Think Vantage button. Sometimes it's the delete button, sometimes it's F2, sometimes it's F12. It'll usually just tell you, sometimes it's escape, but it'll usually say when it first boots up which button it is. There, push the blue Think Vantage button, it says. Okay, so I pushed it, and F1 to enter the BIOS setup utility. That's what we want. F1 to set up or enter the BIOS setup utility. And again, you might have a different key press that you need to use. Okay. Okay, so in here, we want to go over to Startup, and under Boot, we'll hit Enter. And it'll usually tell you how to do this. Over here on the side, it'll give you some instructions. You want to highlight your USB HDD hard disk drive, and you want to move it up to the top. So my instructions over here say push the plus button to move it up. So I'll push the plus, and then hit F10 to save and exit. So I'll do that. We've got the USB up at the top, and all that means is the computer is going to look to the USB stick first before it starts looking in the hard drive for an operating system. If that USB stick is not in there, it's just going to go right over to the hard drive and it'll be fine. So should be just fine. All right, so that's what we want to see. So look to the USB stick, and it's loading up our Linux. I can kind of see that over here. All right, so you're just going to get some text for a little bit as everything boots up. All right. Okay, so now we're in Linux. Internet connection, we're going to do that first. Before we do anything else, we are going to need an internet connection. So I'm going to use the wired or wireless LAN. And you've got a couple options here. So if you're plugged in, if you've got a wired connection, then I would use the first one. But I'm on Wi-Fi, or I expect to be on Wi-Fi, so I'm going to use the second one, this Frisbee. It works pretty well for me. So we'll be kind of patient. It's checking things. Looking for networks. We'll take that first one, looks good. And our password for the Wi-Fi. All right, so now we're connected to the Wi-Fi. Acquired on LAN. Okay, so we'll exit. The interfaces are active, Ethernet 0 and WLAN 0. Satisfied? Why, yes, I am. Okay, so we're going to set as default. Okay, that's great. That's what I just told you to do. Okay, so we'll close that out. The next thing we want to do is go down to the corner. We're going to install a program called Wine, which is a Windows emulator. So in the very corner, just kind of like in Windows, you've got a menu option where the start menu would be. Under the setup menu option, you're going to go to Puppy Package Manager. And the first thing we need to do here is refresh this list, because this is like a default list and it needs to get updated. So we're going to go to, let's go back so you see what button that is. It's this button that says Configure Package Manager. Looks like the wrenches. We're going to tab over to Update Database. Gives you some warnings that it can, take some of your internet time. We'll hit Update Now, and it's going to say the same thing a few times over. It's just going to say, do you want to download this next package? And it'll say the same thing over and over. There's lots of different places that it's looking for updated list. So we're just going to hit Enter a few times when it asks. And it goes pretty quick. Hit OK. And it brings us back to the package manager. Now in there, now that we're updated, we'll type in wine. And we'll search. Okay. So it gives us lots of different options. There's lots of wine items here. We want the very last one, wine 1.7.23-I486_V2.1. If you click on it, it puts it over here on the side where it says packages to install. And okay, so we opened a terminal here. And what we're going to type is wine. It's the program we just installed. And capital S, lowercase e, t, and you can type out setup.exe, or once you get the first 3 characters, it's easier to just hit the tab key. The tab key, and it'll just guess what the rest of the file name is, and that'll work for other things as well. So wine setup.exe, we'll hit enter. It's going to ask you to install a couple things this other first time that we run this. That's fine. We're just going to take the defaults there. Do you want to install Gecko, which is like a web browser? We'll install that. Okay, so now we get to the Horse and Pony Tycoon setup wizard. This might look familiar to folks. For reference, I'm using Horse and Pony Tycoon version 1.13. All right, I accept this license agreement. We'll just leave this as the defaults for now. You can rename this however you want. Horse and Pony Tycoon, create a desktop icon. It's not going to create a desktop icon over here, but I'll show you how to make a shortcut for it. So this will take another few minutes. Right now it's copying over from the CD to your hard drive. And while it's doing that, I'll show you where it's copying. So up here in the corner is a file manager. We get another file window over here. And here's the sneaky part. You see the little eyeball? Click on that and you'll show hidden files. And the hidden one that we want to look for is .wine. It'll be in bold over here. Yeah, so if you click on it, this is a little bit different than Windows in that if you click once, it'll take you into it. So you don't need to double click in Puppy Linux. You just click once and it'll take you there. So .wine, here's where our C drive is on our pretend Windows. So we'll click in there. Here's where our program files are. And there's Horse and Pony Tycoon. That's where these files are installing. All right. I'll let that install. Oh, I'm running out of storage space on my phone. I'll have to talk faster. Okay, so we've installed Horse and Pony. The last option says, do you want to start Horse and Pony Tycoon? You can leave it. It's not going to do anything. Aw, boo. Is it? I don't think it does. Okay, it's not. So we'll go ahead and close that. Now, we'll go back over here to our Horse and Pony Tycoon folder. And we'll open a terminal there. Okay, so now we're in that folder. We'll try the same thing, but now with the Horse and Pony Tycoon game. So first 3 letters, hit tab. See what that looks like. Please insert the correct DVD-ROM. Select OK and restart. All right, so it's not going to let us right away. We're going to have to configure wine. So go to wine CFG, like configuration. And it'll bring us to a little old school Windows looking box that gives us some options here. You want to go to drives, it's the top left tab, and you can hit auto detect. If it finds a CD-ROM drive, great. If it doesn't, you're going to have to add it. For mine, it doesn't. So I'll have to hit add. You want select drive letter D, leave that as the default, so that's fine. So it's got D. Right now it's pointed to the very base directory. That's not what we want. Remember, we saw our CD is called SR0 down here. So we'll change that path to point to that SR0. So it's going to be in mount, because this is a mounted drive. And it'll be SR0. And we'll hit OK. So /MNT/SR0. I'm not quite done yet. You've got to tell it that that's a CD-ROM. So over here we'll say show advanced, and then for type we're going to say CD-ROM. And we'll hit apply. You can hear the CD saying, oh, that's me. Great. We'll hit OK. And now we're going to try the same thing. You can type it out. You can type it all out again, or you can just hit the up arrow a couple of times, and it'll go through your history of commands. So wine horse and pony tycoon.exe. Now you can hear it churning. Give it a moment. And there we go. This is Horse and Pony Tycoon. Go to a new game. Okay. That looks great. And we'll just exit right away. All right. So we're done with that window. Okay. So let's make a shortcut, because this is a lot of work to do over and over and over again. So we'll do new script. Oop, okay, we're just going to call this script pony. And the rest of this is all in there. So we've got pony. And we want to open that as text. So it starts out as bin sh. So there's a couple of things that we want to put in here. One is that we want to mount the SR0 as our CD every time we boot up, or every time we click this button. That way we don't have to mount the CD every time that we want to play the game. It'll just start as soon as we do this. So we'll say mount -T ISO 9660. That's going to tell us a CD. -O space little o, R little o. It's going to tell it to open it read only. And this is going to be our CD drive. So the device is device DEV SR0, and we're going to mount it to MNT SR0. The next thing is we want to change to a directory, but what directory do we want to change to? Let's go back to the terminal and let's see what this directory is. You can say pwd to print our working directory. So our Horse and Pony Tycoon is in this directory right here. If you just triple click on that, it'll highlight, and then you can just bring over here and middle click over here, and it'll copy and paste that right in for you. You can type it all in if you want, but this makes it easier to not accidentally mistype something. Now you'll notice that there are spaces in here. So in order for this to work, we're going to have to surround this with double quotes. Put a double quote at the beginning and a double quote at the end. So that'll change us to this directory. And then we'll type in the Horse and Pony Tycoon. That's going to be the file that we're going to run. So line horse and pony tycoon.exe, just that right there. All right. Huh, that's fun. It'll start right up by itself if you click on that. All right. I'm still gonna use this because I want to make sure that we mount the CD when we get going. But all right, so it's good to know that you can just click on that and run with it. So we'll save this, close that out, and here's our script that we just made, Pony. I'm going to bring it down here to the desktop and we'll make a copy of it. I'm just dragging it down to the desktop and it's just making a copy by itself. We'll test that out. Press Pony and it'll run through our script. It'll mount the CD and then run line. See if that works. There we go. Oh, I clicked too fast. I confused it. Wah wah. Let's try that again. Okay. I can load back the game or I'm just going to exit. Okay. This screen is kind of crazy. We'll change the resolution so we can see stuff again. Here we go. Yep, I can see that. We'll make it permanent. Okay. In case you were wondering what I did just there, I hit the setup button to change the resolution. Okay. So we've made our shortcut. Shortcut works. We're just going to exit and reboot and see how this all plays out. So back down in the corner, there's an exit button. Shut down or reboot, we'll just reboot. And it says, hey, this is our first shutdown. Do you want to save your session? Yes, we do. And do you want to save it as an administrator or a lower privileged user? I know this will work as administrator. I don't know if it'll work as the lower privileged user. The lower privileged user is going to be a little bit easier or less likely to break things on your host computer, but I'm confident that I'm not going to accidentally delete anything, so I'm going to go ahead and save it as administrator. We'll save it as normal. You don't want to password protect anything. What our file system is going to be, I'm going to save mine as ext2. I believe it reads and writes fewer time or like fewer cycles, so the USB will last a little bit longer. I don't know if it's all that important. Okay, so first shutdown, how big do you want this to be? I'm just going to take the default. Our save file is going to be a little over a gig in size. What are we going to call it? I've been calling stuff Pony. I'll just do that again. Do you want to save this save file to Pony and make it that big and use this file system? Yes, I do. And this will take a little while. And then when that's done, we'll reboot. All right, here we go. So we're saving the session and rebooting. Okay. So it finished saving. It's rebooting. Come back to our boot screen. It goes, we still got the USB stick in there, so it's going to go right back up into Linux. Linux promises that next boot will be faster. Your old pinboard has been converted to the new XML format. Great. Apparently that means that I lose all my desktop items. So let's find our file manager. Remember, we open up our file manager. So that's under File System, Rocks File Manager, File Manager. That'll bring us up into this window. We click on the eyeball, and then we can see all the hidden stuff. So wine, drive C, program files, horse and pony Tycoon. There's our pony script. I'm going to click and drag that out here again, and it should stay there this time. I'm not sure why all this other stuff wiped out, but we see our CD is not mounted right now. We're going to try and run this pony. Please insert the correct DVD-ROM. Boo. All right. Well, I was hoping that would work. But if it doesn't, we'll manually mount this by clicking SRO. And then we can click pony. And there you go. Okay, so that gets us back here. All right, so it looks like another, well, yeah. So it looks like the process is going to be, you click on SRO to mount the CD, and then you click on pony, and that'll run your script. Not sure why the mounting the file didn't work, but hey, if you got any ideas, post them in the comments. Hey. Okay, so with that, we're all set. So now we're going to exit. Again, from the menu, go to exit. That'll bring up this exit menu. We're going to shut down completely this time because we want to get back to Windows. And don't take out your USB stick until everything is all the way shut down. You don't want to have any problems with a USB stick. And we'll get the Saving screen again. It shouldn't take quite so long this time, though. Would be my hope. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now we're all the way off. All the lights are off. Take out the USB stick and turn your laptop back on. And it should crank right back up to Windows like nothing ever happened. Yep, and there you go. So the next time you want to play, shut down Windows all the way, then put your USB stick in and turn the laptop back on. And the laptop should boot right into Linux and you'll be able to play the game. Just make sure you have the CD in the drive and mount the CD before you play. Otherwise it won't recognize. But there you go. Enjoy. Let me know if you have any problems. I may or may not be able to help. Probably not, but you know, we'll give it a shot. Okay, bye.